Next is critical angle and total internal reflection. So what is this critical angle and total internal reflection is when a light passes from an optically denser medium to an optically rarer medium, it bends away from the normal. So as we have seen, if we consider with the two mediums which are rarer and denser medium, what happens is it bends away from the normal. Because of this angle of refraction R on the rarer medium is greater to the corresponding angle of incidence in the denser medium. So angle of refraction வந்து greater இருக்கு. Okay. And as the angle of incidence is increased, okay. So இப்போ இன்னும் increase பண்ணோம் அப்படின்னா, okay. So what happens is first consider this to be the angle of incidence. Okay. So what happens is this deviates away from the normal. So normal இருந்து away போயிடும். Okay. Then next is still more we are going to increase. So இது angle of incidence னா angle of incidence இன்னும் increase பண்றோம். So இன்னும் increase பண்ணும்போது என்ன ஆகுது அப்படின்னா it just moves over this. Okay. So இந்த சைடுல இதுக்கு மேலேயே move ஆகும். Okay. Grazing the boundary. Suppose still more if you are going to increase with the angle of incidence. Angle of incidence நம்ம இன்னும் increase பண்ணிட்டோம் value அப்படின்னா என்ன ஆகும்னா it comes back along the same direction. Okay. So same side வந்துரும். That is said to be the total internal reflection. Okay. Angle of incidence is gradually increased, then it at a certain stage it becomes 90 degree. Okay. Then the angle of incidence in the denser medium for which the refracted ray grazes the boundary. So grazes the boundary is what? Over the boundary it moves, is it not? For certain angle of incidence it moves over the boundary. Okay. And that is said to be the critical angle. So this angle of incidence is said to be what? Critical angle IC. Clear with this? What is critical angle is? Okay. Then if the angle of incidence in the denser medium is increased beyond the critical angle, so still more if you are increasing, what happens? As I've told you, the entire light reflected back along the same denser medium itself. So இப்படி போயிட்டு என்ன ஆகும்? Same mediumல reflect ஆயிரும். That is called as what? Total internal reflection. Okay. So for a certain angle of incidence, what happens? It grazes the surface, and that angle of incidence is called as what? Critical angle. And for certain angle of incidence it moves back along the same path. Okay. And that is said to be what? Total internal reflection. Okay. So clear with this term, critical angle and total internal reflection? Yes. So there are two conditions for total internal reflection to take place. So what are the two conditions is? The first condition, the light must always travel from denser medium to rarer medium. Okay. So it's not that the light has to travel from rarer to denser, but the light has to travel from denser to rarer medium. Okay. Then the second condition is the angle of incidence is greater than the critical angle. So angle of incidence வந்து எப்படி இருக்கணும்? Critical angle விட greater இருக்கும் இல்லையா? So that is a condition. We know that critical angle விட அதிகமானதா என்ன ஆகும்? It comes back into the same direction, is not? Only if it is greater than the critical angle, is not? So these are the two conditions for the total internal reflection to take place. Clear with this? So this diagram represents a clear view of the critical angle and the total internal reflection. So see here, this is a angle of incidence and this is a refracted ray. So if the angle of incidence is increased, so increase பண்ணிருக்குமா? Okay. If this is being increased, what happened? It grazes the surface that such that the angle is 90 degree. That is called as what? Critical angle. Okay. If still more it is being increased அப்படினா என்ன ஆகும்? Then it reflect back along the same path. That condition is called as what? Total internal reflection. Clear? N1 into sin I is equal to N2 into sin R. Okay. Now instead of I we are writing as I of C, and instead of R it is been written as 90 degree because for critical angle R is equal to 90 degrees. Not? So this becomes as 1. So N1 sin IC is equal to N2. Okay. So sin IC is equal to what? N2 divided by N1. And N1 is greater than N2. Refractive index is 1. N2 is equal to 1. N1 is equal to N. So substituting this value of N2 and N1 in this, we get sin IC is equal to 1 divided by N. Okay. So IC is equal to, bring this to other side. So it is sin inverse of 1 by N. Okay. So this gives a value of IC, which is a critical angle. So this IC is equal to, suppose if the angle of incidence is 1.5, so we can find it as 1 divided by 1.5, which is equal to this angle. Suppose for water and air, for glass, air, the value is 41.8. For water air, the value is 48.6. Okay, clear with this?